Hey, ladies and gentlemen of the net and drop shot world, especially here in Arizona. Um, I got asked certain aspects of why I do what I do when I'm fishing canals. Now, it doesn't matter what state you're in, at some point in time, somewhere, you're going to have, um, excuse me, you're going to have canals nearby because most places, unless they feed directly off the sewer, they got to have a fresh water source to go to the places, right? So that is why I fish canals a lot. And here in Arizona, the ponds get fished a lot, but people aren't all as willing to go down the canals as they are with the ponds. Just access is different. Some people can't really walk that well. I am one of those. I have difficulty walking because my back is toast, but I still make it happen because I am a bass fisherman and I don't let things get me down. And I also go for other species as well, but when I'm going for bass, it's primarily canals these days, unless I'm on somebody's boat. And even then, the same techniques pretty much apply, just in more abundance. So here's some of the reasons why I do what I do. I try to make the presentation as unobtrusive but still noticeable as possible. I use the lightest heads I can get away with, regardless of current. And I want as much buoyancy out of the bodies as I'm using, because 99% of what I do in a canal is Ned. Regardless of body type I put on the head. Now, I usually keep just a small pack with me. This is a 3-compartment with a front pouch. My main thing for canals is a standard 20th ounce TRD finesse head, mushroom head, and a regular TRD bait. The only times I really stray from that is if I want to throw a different presentation than I normally do. Excuse me. Typically that is a fat pack, and it's usually a little bit, and the South African Special, which is a dark black. I know I'm saying dark black, but there are differences in shade. Just saying. It's a very dark black with some different colors of flake, and it shows up beautifully in all watercolors and clarities. I typically throw mostly natural to very dark colors because they're noticed no matter what the water clarity and consistency of the coloration is, okay? If it's very clear, the only difference that I will do is usually a chartreuse, which I've got some, but they're not in my pack at the moment. And the chartreuse ones I have are the jackal yami fish. I really like how heavy that one is and how far it casts. And it's kind of more of a horizontal presentation. And I like the chartreuse one that I don't remember what the name of it is, but it's got kind of some black mixed in. It's actually a really cool color. But this pink really gets noticed as well in a lot of water clarity levels, but in clear, it's insane. And even in real dirty water, they can still pick it up pretty well because it's kind of phosphorant at the same time. And you can see there's one that's already got a hook on it. It's a 1/20th. There are 3 colors that I throw primarily all year long with TRD, and those are, I got these ones and I have to go get more, but I do the June bug. It's just one of those colors that the purple with that turquoise flake. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what bait it's in. Bass just seem to obliterate the color. They hate it. My other go-to is black and blue. I throw black and blue more than any color of TRD Ned, period. Okay, didn't used to be like that, but the producing of bass and the size of bass and the ferocity of hits I've gotten on black and blue. At one time, I had 7 packs of black and blue and no other colors. That's how good and how many I went through. And contrary to popular belief, TRDs do get tore up. You just have to be really good at fishing. And I'm not by any means some insane level fisherman. I just know what I know and I do it. The other color that I fish quite a bit, depending on the situation, is the molten craw. And with the TRDs, the coloration does vary, but it's usually kind of like a dark brown with the flake in it. The flake continues into the more of the ochre, almost orange. It works very well. It really does. And I like TRDs with two-tone when the situation arises to use them. There are times where I will get the other colors of the TRDs, but it's usually when I'm going on a fishing trip with somebody on a boat. Because at that point in time, the clarities of the water and the light penetration and all that can differ way vastly from canals and ponds. So I've got to have more on hand at that point to handle situations. Two other companies that I work through. One is Fat Pack, as you have already known, and then Wilson, Nick Wilson, I get from him too. And these are molten craw as well. I believe he calls the color something different. I throw these on a BKK 1/16 or 1/8. This happens to be a 1/8 because I was doing it for distance. But he's got great coloration. It's a good standard mold that he uses. I have found that with his baits, I have to use the BKK because the 1/20th finesse just doesn't poke through the bait well enough, because it is a stiffer bait and it is a little bit thicker than a TRD. But Wilson's baits are phenomenal. There are others. Minesweeper Lure Company, his stuff is great. I've got a whole box of his stuff. There's a few others that I bought from that are local. The local guys are really, really good, by the way. And then the aforementioned Yami fish. It's called Chartreuse Green Pumpkin. And I've got that. That is the Fat Pack in that South African special. That is on a 1/16 BKK. But this chartreuse, it's got like a mottled brown into it too. It's pretty phenomenal, this jackal. Let me show one of these real quick. I'm going to show the Fat Pack as well. I just have it in there because my Fat Pack ran out. I don't have any more. I got to get more. But it's kind of skinnier one way than the other. That's just how they're made. And they kind of flow through the water really well. And they got a lot of constant motion to them. When they're in the water, they sit kind of horizontal. They're not all that buoyant, but they work very well. One thing about Jackal that I would love to change is they're just expensive as fuck, man. I will tell you, though, that Copper State sells the Japanese baits at a very great cost. It's only $4.99 for a pack from them of these, and that's comparable with the TRDs. So kudos to them. I get 6 Sense products too. For the packs that I get, it's $3.99. And these are the Shindig 3.2. This is the green pumpkin. I think I might have one of these rigged already. I do. I also use the TRD 1/20th on these because there's enough hook that comes out and they swallow them very well. When they come, they're together, but they have these little nodule things on the end, and what they do is when they flow through the water, they kick like fins, but it still sits at kind of an angle on the bottom, and it looks pretty natural when it comes to the water. This green pumpkin's a really nice brown green pumpkin. It's a very dark one, which I actually really, really like. It's got a lot of hue to it. 6 Sense products are very good. I like their real small, like about the same length. They've got a fluke style bait that I will put on a size 1 cover shot from Owner, and it's a little micro fluke. And during the summertime, oh my God, watch the fuck out on the local ponds. They will slam that. I can't remember what the color name is, but it's essentially a like bright white, somewhat translucent with a lot of flake in it, and it shimmers in the water. Good God, they slaughter it, man. So this is the 1/16 BKK chaser head. I don't get the weed guard ones. I get the weedless. And what is cool about these, especially with the Fat Packs, is that they have the flat head, but they still have a collar, and they're tungsten, so they don't wear out. with the BKKs, it's a magical combination, just so you know. And I know I got that in the Jackal pack. Okay. And I'm doing it like that right now because I'm trying to keep it compact. I also like, now they are more expensive, the Reigns 3-inch Mr. Ned worm. I get it in the natural. There are other colors. I still put it on the Finesse TRD head. Works very well. I carry a small assortment of different sized white tubes. I still use the BKKs on these because they're fatter. In the canals and on ponds, they tend to flutter and fall really slow. So that's as far as baits go right now. That's all I literally have in my pack. And I have a spare 1/8 BKK. There's the collar. And I got all of my gear for drop shot in here as well. Spare 1/20th. I've got ones that are already well used that I have sitting on their own. Other side of this terminal tackle, I've got my other stuff for drop shot. I've got a couple of hair rigs in here for carp. I try to keep compact and just take what I need. So that's essentially it. I have size 2, size 1, size 1/0 for drop shot in here. I've got swivels. Typically, I've only got one left. I really do need to resupply. I got 1/8 teardrops and 1/4 cylinders. The 1/4s are if I'm casting further and I want to pin the bait more to the bottom. I am using the 1/4 more than the 1/8 nowadays. I used to only use 1/8 unless I was in heavy current or it was windy on a lake on somebody's boat. So it's very easy going type of system that I have. I mean, all that stuff except for this hard pack is fitting in this. And if I'm wearing my cargo pants, I'll even take out of that pack and I'll just put them in my cargos and go. I'll keep this in one pack and I'll keep my packs of TRDs usually in one side and my I'm losing words. I'm getting fucking old, man. My pliers. I have fishing pliers with the split shot squeezers and the cutters on them. But I also have a lanyard that I have a braid cutter on. I've got my pass for Dobson Ranch on it. So I keep everything fairly compact so that I can be mobile. I don't want to carry a big old fucking tackle pack. I don't want to carry multiple rods. I only take what I'm going to use with one rod. Unless I know I'm going to go multi-technique, then I'll stay close enough to my vehicle that I can go back and switch. I don't carry more than one rod if I can help it. If I'm on a shoreline, on a pond, that's one thing. I'll bring my stuff out from the car. I'm cool with that. But I'm walking a canal, I don't want anything hampering me down. And I see so many people taking 40, 50 pounds of shit. It's a canal. The bass sit on the sides. Throw something. It's going to hit. It's phenomenally stupid to me to carry all that shit. There's no need for it. They're basic animals. It's not like a lake, man. Now, for concepts of what I do in the canals with these things. Okay, so I toss to every break in the concrete I see. I toss to all the ladders, regardless if they're the concrete steps or the metal bar. I toss under all the bridges I can. I skip cast. Without risk, you're not going to get a reward. It's that simple. I can tie more leader. That's another thing. I'll keep my 150-yard thing of six pound fluoro, and if I got to make another leader to my my braid, then I'll make another leader. The reason I toss those things is the bass are cover-oriented fish, especially in current environments. They want to stay behind something or next to something that will keep them out of the current so they're not constantly moving. It's very rare for them to not be around something that breaks the current to an extent. Whether it's an umbrella that's fallen off of somebody's patio in the water from a storm, shopping carts that druggies have thrown in, concrete pillars that construction workers have thrown in. You name it, it's been in the fucking canal. That's just Arizona canals for you. So yeah, I mean, I usually fish with the direction of the current because fish instinctually know that something is moving against the current does not look natural. So if you move with the current, you're more aptitude to get hit. When I throw at things like steps, I'll throw just a bit current ahead to where it's coming back past it, unless I see a fish physically there, and then I'll just throw right on it on top of its head because they're much more reactionary in a canal. The reason I use the lightest head possible is I want it to fall as slow as possible and drift like it's natural. Everything that I do in a canal is predicated off of trying to be as natural as possible, unless I'm trying to fool them with a pure reaction strike. Because when something looks natural, they're eating it because they think it's a meal as opposed to lashing out at it just because. Another thing that I keep in any pack that I take, I take this with me. This is my favorite brand of glue. The only problem I have with it is that the top part brush, it'll get stuck and you'll end up having to just use the applicator itself. It's not that big issue, but what I'll do with these TRD heads, and I think I've said this before too, every time I get one of these, I take that stupid fucking collar off. I hate that goddamn thing because it presses it up and it fucks up the body immediately. I don't know why they ever put that design in there, but that thing's fucking stupid. So I pry it the fuck off. I put the TRD as centered and straight on as I can after I've applied a small bead around the shaft of the hook with the super glue. It will not come off until it's ripped to shreds. It has worked for me across time. I have been doing this now, this Ned rig stuff for 9 years. I mean, I used everything else under the sun before that. So, I used Gitsit tubes, for decades. Yeah, I mean, I've used it all. Did Texas rig like crazy. That's another thing too. The 4.5-inch curly tail robo worm in Morning Dawn or Oxblood, not the red flake, the regular Oxblood, because it looks just like an earthworm. On that number one cover shot with a 1/8 either free rig or true Texas rig will absolutely slaughter in the ponds. I have seen things come and go and not work after some time. I've never seen a time where I've thrown that it has not caught something. So, and point of fact too, make sure you have at least 10-pound braid to 6 to 8 pound leader on a finesse rod if you're going to Ned or drop shot, especially Ned, because carp and flathead, they have a tendency to hit the they hit the nets, especially the darker ones. They think it's a food source. The thing that people don't realize is that flatheads are voracious creatures. They eat anything they think they can eat. And the carp, they think a Ned is either a crustacean or a bug. And carp do eat crustaceans, by the way. They love crawdads. Oh yeah, and snails. They do. Whatever protein sources in the water that they know they can get a meal out of, because they can literally sense the protein level. Oh yeah, they'll go for it. Why do you think the boilies are like that? They have fish oil boilies now because they smell it and they know it's instinctually some type of food source. And there are waters where carp will eat baby crawdads all day long, and those waters are heavy with those type of bait. Oh, they'll eat minnows too. Oh, believe it. In Scottsdale, man, I've gotten probably 3 dozen 2 to 5 pound common carp on minnows and shad, by the way, when I'm fishing for crappie. You want to talk about a fight? You have an ultralight with 2 pound fucking monofilament high vis, and you get a fucking 2 to 5 pound carp on 2 pound line on the ultralight. It's not an easy fight. It sucks, man. So yeah, but anyway, that's as far as the canals go. And I will walk a distance. And the last part of, well, not the last part. The biggest part to me on canal fishing is etiquette. If you do encounter somebody else on a section of canal, walk at least 100 yards away from them. I've seen so many people get in fights, and it's unnecessary for them to get into fights, by the way. It's retarded is what it is. Just walk away from them. Don't give them an opportunity to get mad when you know a lot of times they're not going to pay attention to the etiquette on your part. It's not always going to be two-way. Some people are just way too human-y for their own good. So just let that be known to yourself. Give them at least 100 yards. That's what my minimum is. There's plenty of canal out there. Plenty of it. Trust me. So there's that. Equipment. I do 10-pound braid max, usually Power Pro. J braid as well. I love Daiwa line products. Very much a staunch believer in J Fluoro from Daiwa. It is a phenomenal fluorocarbon. I used to be all Sunline. I used to be so Sunline with fluorocarbon, it was disgusting. The amount of money I spent on that shit. And I switched to J Fluoro. I have not switched back. I get better performance for a longer period of time with leader J Fluoro. And I used to do only fluorocarbon on my reels. When I switched to braid, that was like emancipation from the slavery of changing line all the time. So I always do braid to leader now. I do a 12 to 22 foot leader. The reason for that is with these lighter heads, the body is what's carrying the weight of the lure out. If you have a longer fluorocarbon leader, and I don't know what scientifically makes this happen, by the way, because I am not a fucking scientist. I am a cheap-ass fucking redneck, except when it comes to my equipment. I've found that the carry-through of the fluorocarbon, because I think it's a lighter line than the braid for the same diameter, and the weight of the lure carries it further if I have a longer leader because it's got more time to be shooting out. I've gotten some phenomenal casts on a longer leader. So any leader I put on is at least a 12 foot. That's just the way I do it. I don't use anything but a Alberto. I've never had to not break unless I've tied it so miserably shitty that it just has no choice but to break. And it's a rare occasion that I don't take the time to tie my knot correctly. With the 10 to 6 that I use, I do 7 up, 7 back for 14 total wraps. And I very well lubricate it before I cinch it down because fluorocarbon does burn if you pull it too fast. And that's pretty much it. 2,000 size, 2,500 size reel. Some people prefer 3,000 for drop shot and Ned. I don't see the necessity. Mine's a Daiwa Tatula 2000 XH, which means extra, XH for extra high gear. I think it's like a 6.2. It's not super fast, but that's why they call that. It's very light. With the rod that I have, it's, I think, 14.2 ounces. I can hold it all day long. Mine is a hand built, but the carbon fiber and aluminum accoutrements are from the same company that Shimano and Daiwa make their rods, higher end rods from. But I wanted mine hand fitted and hand balanced. So I took the reel with me to Ron, my rod maker, and had it positioned with stuff he already had because he had to order stuff from Japan. So I could give him kind of an idea of where I was coming from with the actual overall handle split on mine because I have a very long split to the fighting butt on it for balance purposes. I can hold that 3-in-1, and no matter what size the bait is, I can put my finger just past the collar, and it'll sit there and balance all day long. It's a very phenomenally balanced rod that he made for me. And it cost me a pretty penny, but it didn't cost me, like an NXT-G Loomis. It certainly didn't cost me that much. It still cost me $400. But I'll tell you something. It is the nicest finesse rod I have ever used in my life. Good God, do I love that rod. It's a medium light, fast action, parabolic, and man, it's sexy. It's a North Fork blank. North Fork, I think, was bought by Shimano, or the other way around. So their newer blanks, Shimano's newer blanks are integrating with North Fork now, from what I understand. If I was going to make a BFS rig custom rod, but I already have a BFS rig, I would have Ron do another one on that same blank. And I think he actually has some of those blanks now, but I just don't have the income to do that at the moment. I have to get my teeth fixed. They're horrible, man. They're so bad. I had to encounter some other stuff first before I knew where I stood financially, but now I have to get into the dentist and actually handle this situation because it's not getting any better. But yeah, you want to have a fairly high gear ratio. Some people use 1,000 size. That's fine if that's what you want. I do minimum 2,000. It's high gear, 6.2 minimum. I don't go beyond 7.2. I really don't see a need for that much speed. But I do want to pick up line fairly quickly because with braid, it tends to kind of bow. And yeah, you can feel hits with it that way, but getting it to kind of straighten out real quick is kind of an advantage, especially in moving water, because you're not fly fishing, you're spin fishing. So I try as much as possible to have rods with micro guides. That is another key to casting very far. Micro guides put the line straighter, which means it has less resistance to slap anything on the way out. If you have a custom rod made or you find a rod that is micro guided, you want to have a rod that the first guide is an airwave guide. I don't know how they scientifically figured it out because it looks like a fucking custom rim on a car, but it has no slap whatsoever. And there's like almost no angle to it, and it's straight through the micros. It's phenomenal. I can't go back. Every custom rod I've had made now has had an airwave guide as the first guide, and it's all been micro guides. So the reasoning behind getting a custom rod, and some people will not get it. I had been for years, I had been getting 2 to 4 rods in a year because I was just not satisfied with something with that rod. And when you're fishing, comfort is everything. If you're not comfortable fishing equipment, you're not going to fish, or you're just going to get something else and spend more money. Well, if you think about that, it makes sense to just get what you want from the start. It really essentially does. Because if you do that, you're not going to be disappointed because you're going to get what you're looking to get. And that's why I did. I started with a drop shot rod before I started netting. And it was a heavier, I think it was a Loomis blank. But it was a heavier 7-foot cork handle. And it was pretty heavy, but it was very well made. Ended up giving that to a friend. I got an ultralight made after that. That was a 7'2". It was a great rod as well. The tip got broken about 4 inches. I had it re-tipped, gave it to a friend. Now I have a 3-piece catfish carp rod. I have in my Pansasson super ultralight, and I have my Ned Excalibur, which is that finesse rod. And yeah, I do name the rods. I do. And I'm probably going to get more rods made at some point, but I'm going to be getting into fly carp fishing, so I may have him either build a carp rod on my 6-weight, which is kind of problematic. It's a little light. Or buy one that he has that's his personal rod, but he doesn't use it much anymore, for a pretty damn good price, and it's a saltwater rated 8-weight. So there's directions I'm going in, but I just wanted to kind of give more of a perspective as far as canals and why and what I do. Minimal pack, solid gear, basic baits. If you have too much variety, you're going to spend too much time switching between stuff because you're going to think something didn't work after 2 casts. I repeatedly cast. When I go down a section in the canal, like after work today, I get out at 3:30. The canal section between Elliott and Guadalupe on Rural. There's the YMCA there. I park on the street right by the YMCA. I walk all the way down to where it turns down and starts going toward Kiwanis. I've actually walked all the way from Kiwanis and all the way to that section off of Rural and made hundreds of casts patiently. I take my time. So just take note of that and get out there, be basic, and catch fish, man. Especially during the summertime. It's the best canal time there is, man. They are all the hell over and they eat everything. The thing people don't understand about rivers and canals are just as cooled off as rivers because of the current. So the fish are always more comfortable than they are in the main lakes. Just so you know.